Now we say Dinna Ken and Bonnie Lass and
I ken it well.
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Like, I have accidentally said, I ken it well, or I dinna ken, which, if you haven't read the book and you're just listening to the preview of this,
Probably like, what
I
the
ken
heck are
it
y'all talking
well
about?
is basically how these Scottish Highlanders say, I know, and then I dinna ken is I don't know. But I have accidentally said those two Scottish phrases both at work and also on a bachelorette trip. So, yeah.
We've said that because you'll sort of tee me up sometimes.
Yeah.
We're talking about whatever, and you'll say, you ken it,
You
or
ken it.
something. And I'll be like, I ken it well. Welcome back to Many Pages Later, the podcast where we talk about books. I'm Josh, and right over there is my favorite human, Haley.
Hi.
This week, we're doing something super fun.
Very fun.
We're talking about the book that has influenced our speech more than any other book.
I ken it well. That's good.
Oh, yeah, that was so good. So, we were talking about Outlander.
Book one and only book one. So we won't
Yeah.
be spoiling anything that happens past book one or
Right.
past season one if you're watching on Netflix.
Yep. So, yeah, we're talking about Outlander by Diana Gabaldon.
Gabbletron, as I like to say.
Gabletron.
Yeah.
Because she sounds like a transformer.
Yeah.
New York Times best-selling series. I think there's like 10 books.
There's a lot of books. Yeah, we're slowly making our way through them.
And there's a lot of books.
There's a lot of pages. Each book
You
is
can see
like
we've got-
1,000 pages long.
You've got 5 of them, 4 on the shelf right
Yeah,
now?
5. I'm currently reading book number 5, The Fiery Cross.
So now we say Dinna Ken and Bonnie Lass and
I ken it well.
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Like, I have accidentally said, I ken it well, or I dinna ken, which, if you haven't read the book and you're just listening to the preview of this,
Probably like, what
I
the
ken
heck are
it
y'all talking
well
about?
is basically how these Scottish Highlanders say, I know, and then I dinna ken is I don't know. But I have accidentally said those two Scottish phrases both at work and also on a bachelorette trip. So, yeah.
We've said that because you'll sort of tee me up sometimes.
Yeah.
We're talking about whatever, and you'll say, you ken it,
You
or
ken it.
something. And I'll be like, I ken it well.
Yeah. We're really into this series. We're
Yeah.
watching it also. So, like, we'll read a book, and then once we're done with that book, we'll watch that season, and then we'll just kind of continue like that.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely try and channel Murta,
oh
the
gosh.
character, when I try and say it. Just
Yeah,
ken it well.
that was good.
Just
That was
get a
good.
little gravel in there.
Yeah.
Just imagine I've got a beard down to here.
Maybe one day.
And I walk around in a kilt all the time.
Oh, please don't.
That'd be terrifying for everybody involved.
Yeah, and they don't wear underwear underneath their kilts, honey.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. I will
Yeah.
not be doing that.
Okay.
So, Outlander. Well, before we get into the meat and potatoes here, make sure to leave a rating review wherever you're listening to the show. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. Can't do it on Spotify because Spotify is,
Just different.
it's a little different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, rating review if you enjoy the show. Maybe you'll tune in one time and hear a review being read on the podcast if you're so lucky.
I ken it.
All right, let's do this. I'm going to read the back of the book to
So
give
this
us
is-
some non-spoilers.
Yeah, non-spoiler, reading the back of the book, summary, if you don't know anything about what we're talking about. Here we go.
Unrivaled. Nope, that is a blurb. Okay, here's the actual back of the book. They got look at this.
That's a big blurb.
That blurb is a whole paragraph.
Wow.
Anyways, Scottish Highlands, 1945. Claire Randall, a former British combat nurse, is just back from the war and reunited with her husband on a second honeymoon when she walks through a standing stone in one of the ancient circles that dot the British Isles. Suddenly she is a Sassenach, an outlander in a Scotland torn by war and raiding clans in the year of our Lord, 1743. Claire is catapulted into the intrigues of a world that threatens her life and may shatter her heart. Marooned amid danger, passion, and violence, her only chance of safety lies in Jamie Fraser, a gallant young Scots warrior. What begins in compulsion becomes urgent need, and Claire finds herself torn between two very different men in two irreconcilable lives.
That's good. All right, so let's just jump in to our spoiler section. So if you have not read Outlander Book 1, or if you're just watching on Netflix, then...
On Netflix?
Isn't it on Netflix?
Yeah. I got so confused. I was like, wait, this podcast is on Netflix?
That'd be sick.
That'd be so cool.
I can't.
Get it well! All right, we're back. We're talking spoilers for Outlander. Yeah, you've got all these notes. I have no notes.
It's okay. It's marriage, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
Good balance.
Since you've got all these notes, I think you've got a full summary of the book listed out. Why don't you just give us the summary, and then we'll just sort of dive into it after that.
Okay, so like you kind of mentioned earlier, the book begins with Claire and Frank being reunited after World War II, where Claire has been serving as a nurse. So that's where we pick up. Frank and Claire have a moment at the very beginning where Frank is suspicious that Claire has cheated on him with one of the soldiers or whoever, because they've been away from each other for like 2 or so years. And she gets very upset that he even thinks that of her. And she denies it. But then later that night, she's kind of wrestling with the thought that he never denied that he didn't have an affair over those 2 years. And so that's like the last glimpse that we really get of their marriage, is like, she's like, oh no, I stayed true, but he didn't, kind of a thing. So we're not seeing like a really beautiful picture of them being happy together. So they're like having their little second honeymoon. Claire, being a botanist, she's very into medicine, very into the use of herbs and plants for medicine. And she goes to just kind of like discover some things, steps through the stones at Craignadoon. Is that how we're going to say it?
That
Cool.
sounds good to me.
So she steps through these stones, and it's like this whole big ordeal where like it's loud, her body hurts, like it's a whole traumatic experience. She wakes up and she thinks that she's in the middle of a reenactment because there are like British soldiers, English dragoons.
Dragoons?
Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
okay.
dragoons.
And then just like swords and like old timey things. And then she's like, whoa, reenactment? Why are they using real muskets? Oh, and then she quickly gets kind of captured and attacked by one of her husband, Frank's, ancestors.
Yeah.
Turns out to be Black Jack Jonathan Wolverton Randall. Okay?
Yeah.
But in the background, Frank is obsessed with his ancestry.com tree. Like, he is just really into knowing where his heritage lies.
Yeah.
And he is a historian, so he's been researching Black Jack for years. And he, like, worships him. So Claire meets him. And the second that she meets him, this blackjack dude starts to try to rape her. So like 10 minutes into this series, we're already like, okay, this is going to be a pretty intense book if Diana is entering in with this kind of a scene.
Yeah.
So at this point, she's being attacked by Blackjack, and Murtagh saves the day. Murtagh is my favorite character. I'm sure we'll get into that later. But he saves Claire and takes her to their, like, Highland camp. At their Highland camp, Claire, being a doctor, being a nurse, puts Jamie's shoulder back into location. He has recently dislocated it, and now it's back in its location. What? How else do I say it?
He just pops his shoulder back in.
Oh,
Puts it in location.
There are so many scenes in the show that I like can't watch because I'm like, I get like a woozy stomach, or
Yeah.
I have you like mute it, and the times when you mute it are when like there's like bones and
And they
woo!
go snap back
Oh,
in.
yeah, I can't. So she basically has this already moment with Jamie, and he's like the hot one of the group. Okay, well, honey, he is, and she's just like by the firelight with this Scottish Highlander, like
Yeah.
having to like be near him and stuff.
Be
and
near him and stuff.
so that's like our first little, okay, interesting. So from there, this little Highlander group takes Claire to their like home base, Castle Leoch, where she meets Colum, who is like head honcho of this clan, and his brother Dougal. Colum we see is handicapped. He's got some disease, so therefore Dougal, his brother, is kind of the war chieftain and takes charge.
Yep.
She learns by seeing Colum's journal that she is in fact now in 1743. So
Yeah.
200 years in the past. So this is the first time when she is truly like confronted with the reality of where she is in history, and she's terrified.
Yeah.
And so kind of complicated, but just to keep it brief, basically Claire gets into trouble, and the only way that she can be safe from Blackjack Randall, who thinks that Claire is a spy, is for Jamie to marry her. Basically, Jamie is the one closest in age, and he also needs to be married to like help himself out, and it just works. Just so happens to be that he's the hottest one. So Claire and Jamie get married just so that she is now Scottish. So she is protected from, supposedly she's protected from the English.
Yeah.
So I just have to like kind of take a little second here and talk about their wedding. I mean, Claire, like, she has so many mixed emotions right now. She doesn't really want to be married, but she also sees the need for it, and she can't find another way out, so she just goes along with it. And Jamie is, like, nervous. It's so cute. He's just, like, he's shy, and he's nervous, and he gives her this wedding ring, and he has engraved on the inside of her band, Dami Baziamil. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's Latin. It's
Latin.
actually a Latin phrase.
Okay.
And it means, well, I think it could be Gaelic. It doesn't matter.
probably Gaelic.
It's another language that means 1,000 kisses, and it's referencing a poem that they had both like kind of talked about previously, and it comes up again in other books, and it's just so beautiful. So I just love that, like, even though it wasn't necessarily like a marriage of love, like at the beginning, he was still trying to be sweet and like do this display of affection. Like she can trust him. Oh, I just loved it. Loved it. Also cute with Jamie is that he calls Claire Sassenach, and it just means Outlander.
Do that again for me.
Sassenach. That was good. You say it.
Sassenach?
Oh, well, that wasn't any
I would say it
fun.
the same way, but
Okay.
you put some real oomph in there.
Well, because he's a Scottish Highlander.
So everything they say is just
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's just cute because everyone else in this clan, or in these like Scottish Highlander groups anyway, calls Claire Sassenach, but kind of in a derogatory way. But he calls her Outlander, Sassenach, in like a playful, flirty, sweet way. Like you're my Outlander, like you're my stranger, like you're
Because
it's
the
just
term
like
by itself is sort of derogatory.
yes, but
But-
he turns it to be like you're mine.
Yeah.
Which is just really sweet. So again, she has practiced a lot of medicine, which in 1743, they just perceive it as witchcraft. So there's already a lot of suspicion. Some people have thought she's a spy. Now maybe she's a witch. So she's just really walking on thin ice here. She befriends Galus Duncan, who is also a botanist, or like really into the herb world. So they become buddies, and Gaelus's husband like dies at this gathering, which is just kind of odd. And then Claire kind of gets a little bit in trouble
It's
because
heavily inferred that Galus straight up poisoned her husband.
yes, heavily. But also Claire kind of gets in the spotlight because she goes to try to save him, like give him CPR or whatever, and he ends up still dying.
Yeah.
So people kind of like point their fingers at Claire. So that's like a big deal. Basically, after that, Jamie goes on a hunt with the Duke of Sandrium. That's how he says it too. I'm the Duke of Sandrium. And honey, I'm continuing. Keep it together.
No, I can't.
And so while Jamie is away, which, you know, already makes you feel a little icky because this whole time Jamie is the one to protect Claire.
Yeah.
Even over the smallest of things. So he's not there. She's vulnerable. No one else really likes her. No one really trusts her. So Claire receives a letter saying that Galus needs her help. Now, Claire was recently told by Jamie before he left, don't go to Galus's house because they are accusing her of witchcraft. They're like getting suspicious about her husband's death, kind of a thing. Well, Claire, we see, is just very, what's the called? Bullheaded? Stubborn?
Thick-headed.
She does not do what she's told, ever, which it's a character flaw, not by Diana, but like, you know, just one of Claire's things that gets her into trouble.
Yeah.
She goes to Galus's house anyway. We see later that Lego Hair.
Hold on, we got to explain who Lego Hair is.
I'm getting there, honey.
Okay.
How do you want to say Lego Hair's name, though?
Well,
It's Larry?
It's Leary.
Larry? Leary?
It's Leary.
It sounds like either leg hair or a Lego hair, and
Yeah.
I just think that suits her. You monster. So Lego Hair basically is just like this teeny bopper little girl child, and she's such a brat, and she is obsessed with Jamie.
Yeah.
And basically, like a few months prior to Claire coming to 1743, Jamie gets a little tipsy at a party and like kisses Lego Hair. It means nothing to him, but she thinks, oh my gosh, he's in love with me. We're getting married. He's having all my babies. She's obsessed with him. Obsessed.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah.
I hate her. And so Claire comes in the picture and Lego Hair immediately despises Claire.
Yeah.
It is literally like high school girls, like the movie Mean Girls, but like way worse.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't stand her. So Lego Hair, I'm just going to keep calling her that, everybody. Sorry. Larry basically sets it up to where Claire is trapped. Like she sets her up to go to Galus's knowing that she's also about to be sending whoever to go pick her and Galus up for witchcraft. So basically they get sent into this like whole cage jail cell thing for like a while. Galus is pregnant. And Galus confesses to Claire that the baby is Dougal's, which is like a whole thing because Dougal has a wife who recently mysteriously died. Mm-hmm. So like we got 2 deaths around Galus. We got a new baby. It's like all this drama. And so then at this point, Claire notices that Galus has a vaccination scar, which means that Galus is also from the future.
Yeah.
She gets into court, they are in trial, and they're literally about to burn Claire alive. And our buddy Ned Gowen, who acts as the clan's lawyer, comes in and saves her. Simultaneously, Jamie gets there, but really Ned saves the day.
Yeah.
So at this point, in order to keep Claire safe and Jamie safe, Jamie takes Claire to Lollybrock, his home, like where he grew up. And Claire meets Jenny and Ian and their kids, so Jamie's family. Jenny is Jamie's sister, and they lost their little brother Willie when he was 8. So she's just getting to meet his family, and it's a weird time, but it's also very sweet. Like Claire is kind of standoffish because she knows she's a Sassenach, but also like she's falling in love with Jamie. She's falling in love with his family.
Right.
But, it can't stay sweet for long. Jamie is captured by the English Dragoons, and he is taken to Wentworth Prison, where he's in custody of Blackjack Randall. So we just stay hating this man. Mm-hmm. Murtaugh and Claire go to save him because Ian, Jamie's brother-in-law, has lost a leg in battle, so he can't really go help. And Jenny is about to bust. She's pregnant, or she just had the baby, whatever. Murtaugh and Claire go to save him at Wentworth Prison. Claire finds him chained up and mauled with a disintegrated hand, and Blackjack is just sitting there smiling with Jamie's blood all over him. Mm-hmm. So at this point, we're like, Blackjack is a freaking psychopath. What's the word? A sadist, where you take pleasure in pain. Yeah. Oh God, it's so messed up.
Something like that, yeah.
And this scene for me was, and we'll talk about it, but it's so difficult to read. It's so difficult to watch. I think we fast forwarded through most of it when we were watching because it is just so brutal. Yeah. And basically, Jamie ends up letting Blackjack. He basically just says, "You can have me. Just let Claire go unharmed." And so when Jamie says that, he's basically telling Blackjack, rape me. If that will make you happy, if that will make you let Claire go. Yeah. Which it's just a huge, horrible, horrible thing. Claire goes, but Blackjack has led her down this corridor that opens up into a wolf's den. So she goes, and she is just, oh gosh. I think this is one of my favorite scenes of this book, is Claire just goes bat crazy. She has the whole, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and especially not like Claire Randall's in this scene, or Claire, what's her name? Fraser now at this point.
Yeah.
So she basically kills a wolf with her bare hands in the snow because she is just so red fury right now.
Yeah.
She's capable of killing anything and anyone. So at this point, this random guy, Macronic, saves Claire from these other wolves, and he takes her into his home. He has a lot of cattle. Murtaugh shows up. He sees these cattle. He says, okay, I know of one way we can save Jamie. They storm Wentworth Prison with hundreds, I guess. I don't know how many cows normal people have, but a bunch of cows, and Blackjack Randall is presumed dead. At this point, Jamie and Claire escape to an abbey in France because they have some family connections there, where Jamie very slowly heals. There are multiple times where Jamie is just begging for people to let him die. He is just so... his soul has been crushed, and that's what he just keeps referring back to, is that Blackjack didn't just hurt him physically, but his soul belongs to Blackjack. Just the trauma that he experienced. So he is just really in a bad shape, and Claire spends a lot of time with Anselm, the father, the head monk there, just calling out to whoever to heal Jamie. And so basically Jamie finally sees some hope, and that's mainly through Claire telling Jamie that she's pregnant. And he comes to terms with, I can live, I want to live.
Yeah.
Because I have a family. And that's how our book 1 ends.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Are you impressed with how short that summary is for a 1,000-page book?
That was impressive. Yeah, you wrapped that thing up. You hit all the main points there.
Yeah. Now, of course, we left out a lot.
Yeah,
we are probably not going to talk about 80% of the characters, but we can just talk about whatever you want.
Why don't we just lead things off with my favorite character?
Oh, let's do it.
In Murtaugh or Murta or however you want to say it. I don't know how you say it, but. He is, in the show and the book, the best character by far. Well, I don't know if it's by far. I mean, because Jamie and Claire, super important.
But they both have such big flaws.
Yeah.
People have flaws. That's okay. But Murtaugh is
perfect.
He literally has nothing wrong with him.
No.
He's just a a good human with a good heart.
He's so wholesome, but he's also incredibly savage.
Yeah.
And like extremely protective of Jamie and Claire. The background on him was that he was in love with Jamie's mother.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I don't remember how it ended up working out that he didn't marry Jamie's mom.
He was like basically not in the social standing.
Okay. So then Jamie's mom married Jamie's dad, but Murtagh, when Jamie was born, sort of like treated him like his son, even though he wasn't his son.
And so then since we're on this topic, let's talk about like Jamie's dad eventually passed away. And even from there, Murtagh really stepped in and became Jamie's dad. Yeah. How did Jamie's dad die? Do you remember?
Yeah. So prior to this book beginning, Blackjack had captured Jamie for whatever crime it was.
It was like literally like stealing a loaf of bread kind of a thing. Like it was of that. But
Blackjack like flogged him so badly that I'm pretty sure Jamie's dad like had a heart attack because he was there
and he was watching.
And he was watching, and I think he had a heart attack while Jamie was being flogged and like died.
Yeah, so Jamie carries these scars on his back for the rest of his life. I don't remember the number of lashes, but basically Blackjack administered double what was seen as fit for any crime. And not only that, but he did it twice, like on 2 separate occasions to Jamie. Yeah. And again, with Blackjack just being a disgusting, revolting human being, he enjoys it.
Yeah. He's super messed up. I mean, he's sociopath, psychopath, all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't read this book if you can't, like, I don't know, handle very difficult topics.
There are. I mean, on that same vein, the final scenes at Wentworth Prison are like really, really, really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know. I think it does a great job just of like getting you to hate
absolutely
Randall so much.
And that's what I feel like your biggest complaint in books that you do not like are when the antagonist is not depicted as bad enough that you don't like him or that you hate him. But Diana depicts our antagonist, Blackjack Jonathan Wolverton Randall, as the most vile creature that has ever walked this earth. Yeah. So therefore, as an audience, as readers, your emotions are heightened towards Jamie, towards Claire, towards even Jenny, his sister, towards everyone involved.
Because you feel the sense of danger acutely,
constantly,
all the time. And in other books, in the later books of hers, like there's not always that stark antagonist that they're dealing with. And so sometimes those, like they drag a bit more. But when you have somebody that is such a problem to deal with, that you feel like everybody's in danger all the time, no matter where they are. Because if he shows up, it's like, oh crap, they're
yeah,
you know, their lives are in danger immediately. So he is, and he's smart too. He's not just like sadistic, which he is, but he's intelligent, and he,
he's a leader of a group of troops for the British Army. Like he is highly esteemed, which means that he can do horrible things and get away with it.
Yep.
Like he was at Wentworth Prison and he wasn't supposed to be, and no one else is allowed to just hang out in a jail cell. And he did, and it's because he has these connections. He's so high up that he can get away with anything that he wants.
Right.
What do you think about Frank during all of this? Like, what do you think he's feeling? Because, like, this is just an opinion question. Because in this show, we see a lot more from Frank while Claire is missing. In the book, I think there's only one mention of him, like one brief POV when she first goes missing. So just like those facts aside, opinion question, what do you think he's feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm sure he's incredibly distraught. I mean, she just disappears and there's like no trace of where she went. And no clue as to what she was doing. You know, he doesn't have any closure for anything.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, what do you think Claire, maybe at different points of the book, she's obviously feeling different things. But talk to me about Claire's emotions towards Frank
Yeah.
in 1743 with the fact in mind that Blackjack looks identical
Yeah.
to her Frank because he is a whatever great grandpa, and just so happens to be that they look like identical twins.
Right. She like can't think about Frank obviously without Randall being there. Which is, I mean, that's super messed up just to like think about that when you've got somebody who is diametrically opposed to everything that you are and like wants to kill you and kill your family and everybody that you love, but like also your husband looks identical. So like when you think of them, it's the same person that comes up in your mind's eye.
And it's just, I think Diana does a really good job too with Claire's grappling with all of this, because she is still like technically married to Frank.
Right.
So she still wears her wedding band from Frank. But it's 200 years in the past and she's married to Jamie. Frank won't be born for another 100 and how many ever years.
Right.
So it's like she really does struggle with a lot of those emotions. And I really think Diana did a good job of balancing all of that. I think I would have liked the book less if she would have just been like, oh, I'm here, Jamie.
Yeah.
Period. And never think of Frank again. But that's not what happens. Like after Jamie and Claire get married, I mean, they are married. They're living it up in their marriage life. But at the same time, there are low moments when Claire is sad and she has to grieve Frank.
Yeah.
She thinks like she's probably never going to see him again. And it's just like, again, I just think that it was written in a really beautiful way to showcase like the breadth of emotions.
Yeah. The other part of this is you have this sort of somewhat traditional love story packaged in a historical fiction. But it's also like there's a lot of action and stuff in here as well. But the other part of this book and then the series as well is it's incredibly historically accurate. And there's so much attention to detail with like little things that just sort of like give this lived in sense of the world.
Yes, she had to have researched
a ton.
So much.
A ton.
So much.
Yeah, I know like Castle Leoch, for example, you know, I think that there's just a lot of daily life things that get introduced into the story.
Yeah,
and
like even just like their big dinners and like the going around collecting the tenants' rent. And you're right. Not even like big historical facts,
like little
but
stuff.
Daily life.
Yeah.
You're right. Yes.
Which makes it so intriguing to read when you've got all these little things that maybe you wouldn't have thought about that she's researched. And, you know, there's even, I think in future books, you've got like legal historical stuff that like isn't really a thing anymore, but it would have applied to them and sort of introducing that. There's moments, I think, with this book with Ned Gowan where there's different
I love
legal.
Ned.
He's so wholesome too, but just like he is, like I'm trying to think. There's points at which Claire is trying to, you know, sort of figure out the whole Jacobite rebellion thing that goes on, and she has like a future perspective on how that goes down.
So, and that's something we haven't even touched on, is Claire being from 1945. Her growing up life, she traveled around with her Uncle Lamb because both of her parents had died when she was little. Uncle Lamb did like excavation work all across the world. She was in Egypt with him. She would be in Africa. Like she's been all over the place. She's just a very well-rounded she has a lot of knowledge of the world. And not only that, but she goes and marries Frank, who is a historian,
right?
A college professor historian. So she just knows a lot of history. Now she is dropped into 1743. she knows the history of Scotland pretty well.
Yeah.
Well enough to know what things are coming. Well enough to know that when people start accusing her of witchcraft or sorcery with all of her medicine things, she knows I could be burned at the stake.
Yep.
Like, and I think that's such a cool perspective that I haven't ever read in a book where someone has like time traveled and there's big historical events coming up and she's trying to navigate through that.
Yeah. There's also like the fantasy elements in here too, where you've got like, I mean, something we already talked about, the Wolf's Den in Wentworth Prison. It's played up and it's like this super dramatic, like how the heck do the wolves get there? And you sort of just had to be like, oh, well, okay. You know?
Well, I will say that scene, I wonder if Sarah J. Maas has read Outlander. Okay. Because there is a scene in the first ACOTAR. There's actually 2 scenes.
Yeah.
That almost, not identical. I'm not saying that she copied her. But just the feeling it evoked with like this dangerous beast and this like hell fury woman. It was just so identical to me in my experience reading it to ACOTAR, which is a fantasy book. And so I completely agree with you on that one. And even like the Stones, like 100% fantastical.
Yeah. And like the Fae and, you know, there's like Scottish folklore and whatnot.
Like Claire goes to like save some baby that someone has left to die in the woods because they think it's a demon. Yeah. But really it just has like a cough. And Claire almost gets killed because people accuse her of messing with the Fae world. Yeah. Because the baby was supposed to be taken by fairies and then replaced with a healthy baby. Like their, what's that called? Superstitions drive a lot of what they do. Yep. And Claire has to learn these and unwillingly abide by them because she thinks, I mean, she knows they're ridiculous, you know? So it's just like, I think her character evolving throughout the book is really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's immersive and engrossing, and there's just like, it's characters that you get to know really, really well because I think
ken it well.
you get, it's slower at points where you really get to take your time with the characters as they're doing things. You get to know them really, really well. And so you get attached to them. And also when you've got antagonists at like every turn, it feels like you get personally invested in their story. Well, how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm giving it a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
If anything, maybe dropping it down to like a 4.5, only because of the gore. I don't love gory. And just the scene in Wentworth was very graphic. Yep. Like Diana did not shy away from anything. Just a lot of detail in that.
Yeah, it's one of the more graphic scenes I can remember.
So that would be my, and that's not even really a complaint because Diana was not writing this novel to please me. So it's just my personal preference.
Yeah, but it's so good because it hits really, really hard and it leaves you being like, oh, like you just feel weighty. Yeah. You know, it's just such a difficult thing to read, but it further kind of puts home the point of what all's happening, and you're so much more emotionally invested in it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So
how many stars would you rate it?
Probably a 5.
Wow.
I do think so.
I'm kind of shocked that you gave it 5 out of 5. I mean, I know you loved it, but I feel like you're like.
Yeah, I felt like it was this one and book 2 were super great.
Let's not talk about.
We're not talking about that. But I'm just saying those 2 are really, really good. Where you have, I think the existence of Jonathan Randall in this book makes it much more like immersive, or you're just much more involved emotionally with it.
It's really difficult to do this episode right now without spoiling things that happen in later books. I'm like really trying hard.
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
trying to think
like,
what can I say and not say
I know.
about future stuff? But
I think well, in this book, when I closed it shut. I cried a lot. But at the same time, I was livid. I was livid because I felt like Jamie was not given the opportunity to take revenge on Randall. Like him just being dead by these cows at Wentworth. I was furious. Like I'm pretty sure I told you when I finished it. I was like, I am going to personally email Diana Gabaldon and I'm going to tell her how mad I am that she didn't give that to Jamie.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, I'm just furthering your point, I hope, of just like the emotions it does stir up in you.
Yeah.
And then something else I wanted to bring up was Jenny, just because we mentioned her earlier, but I love her character. She's so she is so strong-willed and stubborn, and she does not take crap from anyone.
No.
So do you want to maybe talk to me about your thoughts about Jenny as a character and just anything with that?
Yeah, she's great. And I mean, like you said, very strong-willed and opinionated and protective of her family.
Mm-hmm. So protective of Jamie.
Yeah.
Especially when Claire comes in the scene.
Right. So to even further that point, when Claire shows up, Jenny doesn't like her because she is like, is Claire going to be good enough for Jamie?
Right. And Claire's British, keep in mind.
So she's already suspicious of her because everything British is suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
How does that song?
I don't know.
Is that a meme or a song?
Don't be suspicious. I don't know. That was in high school.
It was. Jenny. I don't even remember.
Jenny's ice cream. That stuff is good.
What?
That's just what I thought about, okay? But yeah, Jenny, and I think Claire really has to struggle for a second because she is an outsider.
Yeah.
Coming into this tight family where this family has experienced trauma. Like Jenny's parents have both died.
Yep.
In traumatic ways. The mom died in childbirth. They had a little brother die at age 8, Willie. And I mean, it's just been horrible. Jamie has been taken captive. He's served in armies. He's had this death sentence over his head for a long time with no hope of getting it revoked. She has just Jenny has just had to be so strong. And even her husband Ian goes off to battles and it gets his leg cut off. It's just, she has to be so strong.
Yeah.
Which then makes her really kind of blunt with people, especially Claire. Claire comes prancing in Lollybrock. Jenny's home. And Jenny's like, who do you think you are? No, you're actually going to sleep in the worst bedroom.
Yeah.
You're actually going to get up before anyone else and start on chores. Who do you think you are? And are you deserving of my brother? And at first, you're a little thrown off because Jenny is mean.
Rude.
Yeah. But at the same time, she's just trying to protect her family, her unit. And I mean, she's hilarious too. There's that one scene where she Jamie won't listen to her. And she's just funny. Yeah.
Yeah, she goes full R-rated on him.
Yeah. Under the kilt. And it's just, she's funny. And I really like her character because she is so human.
Yeah.
I just think Diana really fleshed her out really well.
Yeah.
And then in talking with or about characters, let's also touch on the significance of Claire being a healer. Why couldn't Claire just be a stay-at-home mom like most moms would have been during World War II? Maybe sewing or something. But she is a doctor at heart.
Yep.
And now she does all of these things in the 1700s. Why do you think that's so important?
Well, I think in a certain, and obviously I can't really speak to what Diana wanted to do, but
authorial intent.
Yeah, that's her thing. But I will say that it does seem like an occupation that would translate across centuries.
That's good. I haven't thought of that.
I've been thinking about that as we've been like watching the show, reading the books and whatnot, that it seems like being a healer or doctor or whatever, you know, she could still have a role in society as a healer in 1743 and also as, you know, a combat medic doctor. And like how many other occupations could a
That's
woman
true.
also do that in
That's
1743 and be important in society and whatnot?
Yeah. And two, there are just so many connections that they're able to make. She just can extend healing to people that makes their clan look good.
Yeah.
And like Dougal is suspicious, but he kind of loves that.
It's disarming a bit, and it helps remove some of the suspicion because she's able to fix general maladies and whatnot.
That no one else knows how to because she's from the future.
Because she has modern medicine in the back of her head, and so she's thinking of alternate ways to solve some of these basic problems.
Speaking of modern medicine, were you shocked / what were your emotions when we see Galus has a vaccination scar?
That was nuts.
I think I slammed the book shut and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I did not see it coming at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. Like, you think that because Claire's able to go back to the past, that like it would follow theoretically somebody else could also do the same thing.
I just thought, oh, it's only Claire.
Right, but it's never touched on.
Right.
And so while, yes, it's possible somebody else could do it, you never think about it being possible because it's just not brought up as a possibility. And it seems like Claire doing it was so out of left field.
Right.
But when we see the vaccine mark on Galus, it's like, but that's what was good about it was there was no explanation for it. It was just she sees the vaccination mark and
then
you're like,
she's led away to be burned.
yeah, and you're like, wait a minute, that would for you is it a 4-star or 5-star?
I'm gonna give it 4.5.
4.5. Okay, so 4.5. General thoughts. You have the podium.
I love this series. And without spoiling any of the other books, I will say books 1 and 2 are my favorite. I just think, again, it's just so different from anything I've ever read. I've never read like a time traveling book. I've never read a book set in the 1700s in Scotland, in England. Like, I feel like I learned a lot, too, which is cool with the historical fiction aspect.
It's like epic historical fiction, too.
Yes, and I just fell in love with the characters. I feel like I would not have read book 2 if I did not fall in love with the characters like I did because of maybe the, like, gore aspect.
Yeah, and also you were frustrated with the ending, too.
Yes. So it just goes to show that Diana crafted her characters really well for me to have fallen so deeply in love with them and to be so invested in these characters to read now 5,000 words about them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, let's also, I mean, this book is...
And that's the shortest one. The first one is the shortest one.
We're looking at... Let's see if I can
know.
find like the last page here. We're looking at roughly 630 pages.
For like the shortest one in the series.
And it's all in one point of view character's voice.
That's brilliant. How does she do it?
I don't know. I mean, I've written stuff, a lot of words, and doing 600 plus pages in one point of view is really difficult. A lot of really big chunky books have like 3 or 4 point of view characters, and it's a lot easier to spread out all your pages through multiple POVs. Doing it in one POV, you have to get so deep into the character, and you have to like intimately know their voice and their experience to be able to just get that many scenes out of them. Like, they get used up if you have too much, but we have 5,000 pages, and most of
it's only half the series.
I know, and it's mostly one POV.
Yeah. And I just kind of realized right now when you were just talking, like, we didn't really talk about how we feel or felt about Jamie throughout this whole entire thing. I don't know how we just kind of bypassed him, but do you want to like share any thoughts or feelings that you had about him as a character, or maybe things that he went through, or just how he came out of things?
Yeah, I think he is a really good character, and he's I mean, all of these characters I think are really strong, but he goes through probably the most difficulty, and he still sort of maintains a funny but also protective and
he is
serious.
kind of goofy at points. It's cute.
Yeah, I mean, he feels like a well-realized character. And
He's always getting himself into trouble.
He is.
He can't just like play it safe.
No.
He can't just like hide out and not be captured.
Yeah.
Like he just always is getting himself into like deadly trouble.
Yep.
And I think this is when we see how much Claire loves him, though, is that she's like not afraid of that. And she's willing to go with him through those things. So
and he's incredibly protective of her,
oh gosh,
too.
yeah. He like if somebody even looks at Claire the wrong way, this has definitely. I know this is a big thing with romance books, but it has the trope of touch her and I kill you.
Yeah.
I will burn the whole world for her.
Yeah,
like that is definitely the trope that I'm picking up between Jamie and Claire.
Yeah,
and I know a lot of people really love that. So if you love that, you'll love this.
You know, at the end of this, when he's dealing with the aftermath of all the stuff that Jack Randall does to him, like it's, again, you feel awful reading all this stuff, and then the aftermath of it, it's like really difficult to kind of get through. But I think also at the same time, it's really realistic. You know, they're
like when they're in the Abbey, you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
but you know, and maybe the way that they sort of get through it is a little bit far-fetched, and
yeah, she like steps in to like his
she
room.
pretends to be Jack.
Yeah,
or
and
something.
he like
it was weird.
She gives him a lot of medicine so that he's like kind of out of it, and
She gets him high.
Takes on the likeness of Blackjack, and he like attacks her. In the book, it's like crazy. Like
Yeah.
he like beats her because he thinks it's Blackjack.
And then they like have sex or something.
Yeah,
and that's
it's-
like them breaking through the wall.
Yeah, of like healing his soul. That to
That was
me
weird.
was the worst scene because it was so far fetched.
And there's
it was
moments
too
like
far-fetched
that
for me.
where it's the fantasy elements where it's like, okay, how are we going to fix this problem? We're going to go to the most nutty thing that we can think of.
Wackadoodle, as you would
Yeah,
say.
it gets wackadoodle. Yeah, that was weird. I didn't really vibe with it too much.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, we could just, not do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So my only question remaining for you, Josh, is when are we going to Scotland?
Tomorrow.
I cannot. Well,
Let's go to Lallybrook. All right, that'll do it for this one. If you enjoyed the episode, leave us a rating and review wherever
even
you're
if
listening.
you didn't enjoy the episode.
Yeah, if you want to leave a 1-star, do that, but make sure your phone's on airplane mode when you do it. Oh, man, that'll do it for this one. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.